Welcome back to the Always Bayern Chelsea show. Today is Sunday, November 24th, as I record this one here, finishing up my morning coffee, and hopefully we'll have this one out on Monday the 25th. But club football is back. It was missed, at least a lot by me, during the international break, but we did put out a couple of videos on the YouTube channel, so check those out and subscribe. One of them is a State of the Season address for Bayern Munich during the November international break. And the other one is an interview with my friend Noah Rasmussen, who's a former keeper. And we talk all things goalkeeping, just from playing the position, Noah's background, and even talk a lot about Neuer and Robert Sanchez. So I think that was a good one. That was a really fun one, and it'd be a one that's worth checking out, I think. So let's jump right in now and talk about the matches that happened this weekend in the Bundesliga and the English Premier League. For Bayern Munich, a 3-0 victory over Augsburg, and for Chelsea, a 2-1 victory over Leicester City in the Premier League. So as I said, let's jump right in here. Jim is not with me in the room for this one. I'm hoping to get an audio recording from him soon to throw in here to get his thoughts on these two matches as well. But I'll start off now and talk about Bayern Munich's 3-0 win against Augsburg. This was the early match in the Bundesliga, so it actually took place on Friday. Kane scored a hat-trick in this one, and the 3-0 scoreline is a little bit deceiving because two of those goals actually came in stoppage time at the very end there, but we'll get into all of that as we go through the match. As always, I'm going to start off here by listing Bayern Munich's starting lineup that Vincent Kompany put together for this one. We had Manuel Neuer in between the sticks. Good to see him there. There was a lot of doubt if he was going to be healthy enough to play this one. He actually pulled out of training during the week with what turned out to be a rib injury, but I guess it was a last-second decision, and Neuer was healthy enough to play. And he wasn't tested very much in this one, so I guess it was a good one for him to get in there and not have to do too much. But yeah, then we saw Rafa Guerreiro as the right back. We saw the center back combination of Dayot Upamecano and Kim Min-jae, which is who Kompany seems to be riding with and will continue to ride with as long as they're healthy, it seems. Then at left back, we had Alphonso Davies. In the midfield, we had Joshua Kimmich paired with Leon Goretzka, and it was great to see Goretzka in there getting the start, as I guess it wasn't great that Bayern has a number of injuries in the midfield position with Palhinha and Pavlovic, but like I said, good to see Goretzka getting the start. We'll talk more about him because I thought he had a real good match. So the attacking setup was Michael Olise on the right wing, Jamal Musiala at the 10, and Kingsley Coman at the left wing, of course. Up top was the hat-trick man himself, Harry Kane, hat-trick Harry. Okay, so to start off my discussion of this match, I think it was going to always be this way, and it was certainly right from the get-go clear that Augsburg planned on parking the bus, and they parked about 10 buses back there for this match. We talked about it a little bit in the State of the Season, but the blueprint to beat Bayern seems to be to park that bus and then to counter. Although Augsburg had no offense this match, to be just blunt with it. They didn't even seem to be trying to counter. I'm sure that they were, but really what happened was Bayern would win the ball back within seconds, it seemed, every time that they lost it. So Augsburg basically had no offense. They did do a good job of parking the bus and kind of stifling Bayern's attack, but yeah, in the beginning of the match, it seemed like Bayern was really just shaking off the rust from that international break. It's never easy coming off of an international break, and especially on a Friday game. There's even less time for these guys to get back into shape. So yeah, this was, for the most part, a pretty boring match to watch. Like I said, Bayern's attack wasn't that great for most of the match. They were finding chances here and there, taking shots, but none of them were really that good. They just weren't able to break through for the most part. Although I will say, Leon Goretzka, in the first half, I think 2 of his shots came in the first half, maybe 1 in the second half, beginning of the second half, but Goretzka had 3 shots that missed by mere inches. I mean, one of them hit the post, one of them, I think, grazed the keeper's fingertips, and then the other one was maybe a little bit to the left of the goal, but Goretzka looked motivated and great, and I mean, that's not all he did. He was influential in progressing the ball through the midfield. Although, as I said, Augsburg parking the bus and having that shape so deep really meant that it was a great game for him and the midfield to just be able to freely move the ball, because there wasn't much pressure there from Augsburg at all. So on one hand you have that, but on the other hand, it was just a solid match from him, and I don't think you can say anything differently. I know Goretzka has a lot of haters out there, but yeah, I mean, I don't think you can watch that match and think he did bad at all. So good on Goretzka for that one. The second half started and Bayern Munich looked a bit stronger, I would say. Like right out of the gate, they just seemed more motivated. Their attack seemed a little bit more fresh. They were starting to create more chances. Musiala had chances. Kane had a few chances. Kimmich actually had a shot in there, and Olise had a shot or two. And I guess I should mention too, Kingsley Coman had a shot in the first half that kind of curled from outside of the box, but ended up being a relatively routine save for the keeper on Augsburg. So, you know, the second half starts, Bayern looks a little bit better. You kind of think as a fan, at least I was thinking, that they were going to break through and get a goal eventually there. I was kind of thinking, okay, this one's probably going to end 1-0. Bayern will at some point break through, and Augsburg won't have an answer for it as they weren't showing anything offensively. But yeah, in the 63rd minute, we finally got that breakthrough for Bayern Munich, which was a handball in the box off of a corner kick for Bayern. I don't know what the Augsburg player was doing. I think he couldn't see the ball as it was looping in, but he kind of just stepped right in front of Kane, and Kane was going to head the ball, and then the ball hit the Augsburg defender's arm. He swung his arm right in front of Kane, so I guess good positioning by Kane, because if that arm wasn't there, he probably would have got a head on it, but mostly just a boneheaded move by the Augsburg defender. So anyways, Kane steps up to the box and puts it top bins. A beautiful penalty. He kind of did a little stutter step, saw which way the keeper was moving, and then just boom, right in the upper 90 right-hand corner of the net. Impossible to save, especially as the keeper was diving the other way. But yeah, so that was the moment of the match for me, because at that point, like I said, Augsburg really had nothing to offer offensively, and you saw Bayern starting to build. You saw things starting to come together, and even though their offense was stale, and yeah, I mean, Kane up to that point was relatively stale. Like I said, had a few shots, but wasn't really making a move, or his runs were a little bit mistimed, and the same could be said for most of the offense for Bayern. But anyways, that was the moment. Bayern's up 1-0, and honestly, the match continues on, and like I said, that's kind of how I thought it was going to end. In the 76th minute, we did see Vincent Kompany go to his bench, and he brings on Leroy Sané, Konrad Laimer, and Serge Gnabry. And then we got Thomas Muller coming on in the 88th minute. Overall, for this match, the subs didn't really do much. There wasn't really a whole lot that they could have done, I guess, it seemed at that point. So the 93rd, I guess, third minute into stoppage time, Harry Kane gets taken down in the box, and it was a moment where Serge Gnabry was kind of coming in on that left-hand side and tried to pass Kane a ball. Kane was going in to score. If it was a better pass, he probably would have scored even with the contact there, but the contact was enough to take him down as he was making his run, right in front of the keeper, basically, to try to score that goal. And he's awarded another penalty, and yeah, just like I always say, I feel like a broken record at this point. I think Kane is maybe 25 of 25 or some crazy statistic with penalties here. But yeah, he buries it again, this time in the lower left corner, I want to say, as opposed to that first penalty, which was definitely upper right. But yeah, so it's 2-0 at that point, and the game is certainly over. We're into stoppage time. I think Augsburg thought it was over. I think most Bayern players probably thought it was over, but not Leon Goretzka. Instead, the 95th minute, Leon Goretzka lays an incredible ball into the box for Kane, who times his run just perfectly and puts on an absolute masterclass in, flexibility, athleticism, but you got to watch this goal. This is one of my favorite goals of the season. Kane basically recreates the Bundesliga logo where he's soaring into the box, except instead of his foot being planted, or not planted, but parallel to the ground, I guess, his foot was straight up in the air, and he had a perfect touch just to control the ball with that foot straight up in the air, toes straight up in the air, I guess, if that helps you envision it. But he controls it right onto his head and heads it right into the goal. The keeper is dumbfounded. He goes one way trying to stop what could be a shot if Kane were to be soaring in, and instead of trying to control the first touch, shooting. So the keeper's way out of position. And yeah, that was just a really sweet goal. Credit to Leon Goretzka on that one. Beautiful assist. Credit to Harry Kane, who I think I texted Jim at that point, looks like the most unathletic guy alive. If you watch Bayern, if you know Kane, I think you might understand what I'm saying there. He's not the speediest guy. He probably can't jump the highest. He doesn't look that athletic, but that move that he did in that moment took an unworldly amount of athleticism. So yeah, just please go watch that one. Oh yeah, and I guess I didn't mention, but we did see Sacha Boey in the 94th minute come in there just for a minute or two at the end. Boey has been hurt for a very long time. He struggled with injuries since he came over to Bayern last winter, and it's good to see that he's finally healthy enough to be in the squad, if not to start. I hope we see him at right back starting for this tough run of matches that Bayern has coming up here, at least to provide some depth to that position and maybe allow a Guerrero or a Limer to play some minutes in the midfield as well. That would be helpful. But yeah, overall, the 3-0 win, we'll take it, especially coming off of an international break. It wasn't really the best match, as I kind of reiterated a bunch, hopefully, throughout this match dissection. But yeah, we take those points. Right now, Bayern remains at the top of the table. I think they're 6 points or maybe 5 points clear. Let me pull this up here. Yeah, they're 6 points clear of Eintracht Frankfurt, who's in second place. I watched their match this weekend. So Frankfurt's been looking good lately, but a lot of the other top competition, Leverkusen and Dortmund, they're sitting at 4th and 5th, 9 and 10 points behind Bayern. So they've got some ground to make up. We're happy with how Bayern Munich's doing in the Bundesliga, but now they've got an extremely tough run of matches coming up here. PSG on Tuesday in the Champions League, Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga, which is Der Klassiker, on Saturday the 30th, and then in the DFB Pokal they're playing Leverkusen on December 3rd. So that's a really tough run of matches. Bayern's going to have to do their best to just stay healthy and stay creative, because these teams are going to provide much more of a threat and a challenge, especially to the defense, than this Augsburg squad was doing. But overall, I'm very happy with the defense. Like I said earlier, Bayern was winning the ball back within seconds, it seemed, after losing it in this one. And their defense has now put up 6 clean sheets in a row, and they just look good. I think we're going to see, again, with this upcoming run of matches, some more threats, and I think it's going to be the real challenge now. If they can continue to play at this level, we'll see what they're made of. And if they can, it's going to be looking very, very good for Bayern. Bayern really needs a win in the Champions League. Their start to their Champions League campaign this year was not so good with those 2 losses to Villa and Barcelona. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. We need them to start moving up in the table, and that starts with PSG. I guess I got to go through some match awards now, of course. I would never want to forget that. Man of the match, of course, Harry Kane. That's kind of a gimme. Even though it was a slow start for him, the man had a hat trick. He put the team on his back in the end and won the match for the guys. Robin, I'm giving to Jamal Musiala. He seemed, again, like one of the more creative attackers. Couldn't break through in this match and get on the score sheet, but I liked what he provided for the offense, especially in breaking down a low block. His creativity, his dribbling, it's something that you really need. The underrated player of the match is Leon Goretzka. I won't be taking anybody else for an answer for this one, because shout out to Leon Goretzka. I mentioned it before. Great match. A bunch of narrow misses that could have and maybe should have been goals, but you know what? He got that assist for Harry Kane at the end, and just a great match for him. Really good for him to, keep up a positive attitude and just fight until the final whistle, especially after, as I keep saying, I keep saying it because Bayern's bosses keep saying it. They keep going to the media for some reason and talking about Goretzka, and it's clear if you read between the lines at what they're saying that they don't want him on the team anymore. But hey, Goretzka's acting like a professional, and his services are going to be needed here with all these injuries, especially with this tough run of matches coming up in such a short time frame. Defender of the match, I don't know. Once again, pick any of them. They all looked great. They all weren't tested very, very much. I don't really know what to say. Guerrero and Davies do a great job of contributing to the attack, and Kim and Upa both looked awesome in their positioning. They won a lot of duels. Of course, Neuer wasn't tested, but when he was, did the job. So great on the defense overall. I guess the only other thing I want to mention now is I think it's becoming more clear, at least to me, that Bayern has 4 solid wingers, as we talk about. I'm not including Tell in this because Tell never plays for some reason, so I don't really have enough intel to judge him. But we got Michael Olise, we got Leroy Sané, Kingsley Coman, and Serge Gnabry. I want to talk about those 4. I think right now it's so clear to me that the best 2 are Leroy Sané and Michael Olise. Now, for some reason, I like Leroy Sané at the left wing. Vincent Kompany doesn't. He's not playing Leroy Sané at the left wing no matter what. So he's kind of alternating all 4 of these guys. I would say Olise, Coman, and Gnabry get the most time, and Sané gets the least. Gnabry, Coman, and Olise are probably about equal, with maybe Olise getting probably the most, slightly. And then, I would say Coman and Gnabry get about equal minutes. Sané gets less minutes. In my mind, Sané and Olise are the best. I know Sané was coming back from an injury, but now I think he's fully fit, and I think you just got to start playing him more. You got to start starting him, even if it's at left wing. All 4 of these guys are up and down so far for Bayern. Olise, it's so early to tell. It's his first season, but Coman and Gnabry go for long stretches where they don't do much. This match, for example, Coman's crosses were bad. He did good stuff when he got the ball. He was able to beat people, and I don't know, he was very good off the ball as well, but his crosses were not good. His finishing was not good. So you get these long stretches where Coman and Gnabry have a very low floor. I think Sané and Olise have a higher floor than both of them. Now, Coman and Gnabry have a very high ceiling. Olise and Sané have a high ceiling as well. I think Olise and Sané more often hit that ceiling. Again, they're both up and down. They're both not always at that ceiling. They're not extremely consistent, but they're at that ceiling or closer to that ceiling more than Coman and Gnabry are. And Sané and Olise, I also think, have a higher floor than Coman and Gnabry. I don't know. Just my opinion. Take that as you will. I'm sure at this upcoming run of matches, we're going to see some things. Maybe I'll be eating my words. Maybe I'll be proven right, I guess. Who knows? But we're going to need all 4 of them for these 3 massive matches coming up. Those are just my thoughts. I would love to see Olise and Sané start together, but I think you got to start giving Sané more minutes, at least to see what you got for him, because you have to either give him a new contract or let him go for free after this season. So just my thoughts. It's going to be interesting. I'm sure we're going to see some new faces. Again, I hope we see Sacha Boey more in these upcoming matches, but I feel like I've rambled on enough about Bayern Munich for this one, so let me just pop in here and talk a little bit about Chelsea. So Jim will probably talk more about this one, and I think based off of his reaction video on YouTube, his short, he has probably stronger feelings than I do about this one, but it wasn't the best match for Chelsea, I will say that. Although it started off great, Chelsea clearly was looking to build from the start, and we got that goal from Jackson in the 15th minute, a nice assist from Enzo, and also a great finish from Jackson outside of his foot, right past the keeper. Man, when I practice that at the pitch with Jim, it ain't easy. It ain't easy to be accurate or to get any sort of pace with the outside of your foot. So really good on Jackson for that. We saw a goal by Noni get ruled off, which sucked because it was a great goal for Noni, and I think he really, really needed that goal. It might be time that we look at starting somebody else over Noni, as he hasn't performed very well in the Premier League. And then right at the end of halftime, we saw Leicester building, and it almost looked like they were going to score, but Chelsea was kind of maybe saved by the halftime whistle, I don't know. But things were starting to look dangerous there. And, the second half started, and again, Chelsea just didn't look great. Palmer didn't look great throughout the whole match. I thought he looked a little bit off. He's looked off lately. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think Palmer will find form soon enough again, but he certainly hasn't looked his best lately. And then that showed in this match when Palmer actually had an open shot and shot it right off Noni. They were both kind of going for the ball at the last second. Noni jumped up to try to get out of the way and let Palmer shoot. Noni actually could have taken the ball himself and shot, which is interesting because I've noticed Noni has some selfish tendencies sometimes. Instead of looking for teammates, he'll go for the goal, whereas this one seemed like it would have been an easy goal for him, but he let it up for Palmer, and then Palmer just shoots it right off Noni's leg. I don't know why Palmer didn't keep the ball lower there. It was a weird play. I thought it was bad on both of them, but yeah, who knows what happened. They both seemed to laugh it off, I guess, after that. But yeah, then the 75th minute, Enzo got a goal, and I thought that it might have been an assist from Jackson, but I don't think it was because the ball Jackson kind of shot it. I think it went off the keeper. Noni was in there. It was a little bit of a mess for a second, but Enzo had a goal. So whether anybody gets an assist, I'm not quite sure. It was, yeah, like I said, off of a deflection, but yeah, a great ball from Marc Cucurella on that one, who I thought had a great match overall. Just to get the ball in the box there was really good for him. And yeah, then in the 95th minute in stoppage time there, we did see a penalty awarded for Leicester. They nailed it, so the match ended 2-1. Yeah, just a big bummer because I wanted Sanchez to get that clean sheet. I thought he deserved it. I can't remember who it was. It was one of Chelsea's defenders who pushed someone down in the box, but it just didn't need to happen. Boneheaded play. I don't think it was that much contact either. I don't think it was that great of a call, but hey, what are you going to do? So yeah, let me throw some match awards out for this one. My man of the match was Nicholas Jackson. Thought he had a great match. Goal and probably not an assist, but yeah, I just thought he had a great match overall, and getting that goal there. I did list Enzo's goal as the moment of the match because that was really what slammed the door shut on this one. There were maybe some nervy moments for Chelsea before that. So yeah, I'm giving the Robin to Enzo Fernandez there. Great match for him as well. The underrated player of the match, I'm giving to João Felix. We saw Felix start. Maybe Jim will talk more about him. I know he likes him a lot, but overall a very good match from Felix. Progressing the ball. He had a couple shots that were pretty close. So maybe we'll see more of him in the Premier League going forward. Defender of the match, I gave to Marc Cucurella. He was just all over the place, dominating that whole side of the pitch, offensively, defensively. Really good match for him. Maybe the best match I've seen from him this year, to be honest with you. But so yeah, now Chelsea plays a midweek match against Heidenheim in the Conference League. That'll be a good one. Heidenheim started off the year real strong in the Bundesliga. They did lose probably their best player last year, Nicholas Best, but yeah, now he's over at Benfica and hasn't been doing as good this year. But yeah, Heidenheim's a fun team to follow. They have moved up from the 4th division very quickly with almost no money, a very, very small town. I've talked about this a lot, but I think it's one of the best stories in football. Right now, that type of thing just doesn't happen at all. And Heidenheim did it somehow against all odds. So, they started off strong this year, but now they're kind of tapering off. I think Chelsea should easily win this one, as they have with all of their Conference League matches, but I'm looking forward to watching some Heidenheim. And yeah, then we do have the next Premier League matchup for Chelsea is against Villa, so that'll be another fun one to watch. Very well-coached team. They've had some up and downs this year, I know as well, but yeah, let's throw it over to Jim and see what his thoughts are on these couple of matches.
Chelsea 2, Leicester City 1. Here is my brief analysis of the match. It was a beautiful win, although one that I wasn't all the way pleased with during and after the match. I need to go back and watch some highlights, but there were some things that I liked that Chelsea did. Enzo Goretzka and his tactics, I've begun to really enjoy the way he plays the beautiful game of football. I just think Chelsea could have won this game by a larger margin, and I think if they want to be a top 4 team and be consistent and compete for a title at some point in the Premier League, they need to put these games away very quickly and not make simple mistakes at any point in games. I get you're going to slip up at times. And as I've said all year, you take 3 points, you don't complain, and you get out of there. And I think that's valid here. But I'm also okay with having two opinions that Chelsea was good and bad at times. So my analysis in total is that. To start with the good, Enzo Fernandez has been playing fantastic lately. He was my man of the match in this one, a goal and an assist. The assist was mostly Nico Jackson working his ass off to get that first goal, a brilliant goal by him, finishing with the outside of his foot. But Enzo's in the right place. You know, Maresca was telling him that he needs to get in the box more as an attacking midfielder, and he showed that he was able to do that twice, pushing up the pitch, putting himself in a good position. Something that I've noticed Andre Santos does a lot. If Enzo starts doing that, maybe Santos coming back isn't the clear answer that everybody's been hoping for. So always good to see him playing well. His long passing will always be dynamic. He's a very creative player. He's winning duels, making interceptions, making tackles, an accurate passer. Those are all good things for Enzo Fernandez. Benoit Badiashile, another great performance from him. You know, this back line that Maresca went with because Reece James was out, Gusto was out, was interesting. You got Cucurella on the left, and then Badiashile, Colwill, and West Fofana at right back. And I thought Badiashile played really well. I think he completed the most passes on the team. When he's on, his dynamic passing really works effectively in this Maresca system. Him and Colwill seem to have a decent partnership together, which is interesting to note at the least. Fofana, Cucurella, I thought they played well too. You know, Cucurella is proving that he's one of the better left backs in the Premier League, which is really awesome to see. And Fofana, he was fine. Nothing special, but nothing terrible either. Caicedo has continued to be the most consistent player on this team. I've said it all year long on this show, but it's so true. And on a day where Palmer isn't at his best, Caicedo's proving that he might just be the best player on this Chelsea team, which is really saying something. And now over to Cole Palmer, who I just didn't think really had it all on the day. You know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. He wasn't awful, but I just didn't think he had his greatest day. It's going to happen. Players aren't perfect. Noni wasn't incredible either. You know, him and Cole have that moment where Noni kind of blocks Cole's shot from going in. It is what it is, you know. Tough to really blame both those guys for that. It happens. Is it ideal? No. I need more from Noni ultimately, and I'm interested to see if Maresca finally gives his spot to a Neto going forward. Neto obviously had a knock in this one, so didn't play, but that's what I would do. We'll see if Maresca makes that same move in the coming weeks. João Felix, kind of playing that left wing in the lineup, but the freedom to do more than just that. And I think he's a player that is firing on all cylinders right now, showing that he can play not only in these Conference League games, but also in the Premier League. And his off-ball activity is what's getting him that time. He's able to win duels, work hard defensively at getting the ball back. Christopher Nkunku is not necessarily doing that as well, and I think that's why Felix ultimately got the start in this one over a guy like Nkunku, because he's having success doing that. So that's great to see. If he can really get things together, moving better, I think it's only going to help this Chelsea team, especially in terms of competition. And then Nico Jackson, I mentioned he scored that goal. He's been a bright spot all year long as well, even moving on to last year. And to see him with the confidence to score goals and do what he does best, leading the team in a lot of different ways, I'm so happy for him, so excited for Nicholas Jackson. He can only get better from this point. Robert Sanchez, just don't love him, you know. It's not like he really allowed a goal, but he didn't do anything positive either. You know, Lavia is the one that gives up that pen, but I would argue Sanchez should have saved that pen. It wasn't even a good pen by IU. I just don't think Chelsea are going to be a top 4 team with Rob as their goalkeeper. Lavia was a late sub, and Nkunku, Sancho, and KDH. None of them did anything. Lavia, obviously a poor performance with the pen. And Chelsea have given up 4 pens this season, the most in the Premier League. That's something to watch going forward because it's a terrible spot to be when you're giving up that many pens. That's just too many. And you can't do that when you're going for those European positions, especially if you want to be a top team. Hopefully Lavia is just in a little stretch right now where he's not playing his best. I think he'll be fine. He's still so young, so I'm not too worried, but something to note and watch. And the others, only comment I really have is good to see Dewsbury Hall get an ovation from the Leicester fans. I think that's the only reason Maresca really put him in the game because he hasn't done much for me on the year. Overall, though, I think Chelsea definitely deserved the win. They were the better team, dominant at times, 4 big chances, 16 total shots. They looked great in a lot of different ways, and I think Maresca is showing that he can be more aggressive and more offensive with some of his lineups and strategy, tactics against lesser opponents. I don't think he's always going to be this aggressive against, top 6 teams that really can give everything we've got. But it'll be interesting to see what he does against Aston Villa in the coming weekend match here. They do go away to Germany first against Heidenheim in the Conference League on Thanksgiving Day, but I think that'll be an all-systems-go match in that one for the Conference League. And then Aston Villa is where I'm really interested to see at home against a team that's shown they can be good. What will Maresca do? Will he be aggressive, more conservative? Aston Villa sit 8th right now, 3 points back of us. So that's one I'm watching for sure. And Chelsea stay 3rd in the table. They're tied on points and differential with Arsenal, tied on points with Brighton. It's a great spot to be right now. City got clobbered by Tottenham. So while the middle of the table is still pretty packed for the most part, I think Chelsea are in a good spot. We go into a home match on the weekend against Villa after this Conference League match, and I think Chelsea will get 3 points in both these matches. I haven't seen how Heidenheim have been this year a ton in the Bundesliga. I'm looking right now. Oh boy, they're 15th in the Bundesliga this year. I think they were doing better last year, but that tells me that they're not ready to face Chelsea. I know it's in Germany. The fans will probably be crazy. It's going to be an awesome match, but I think Chelsea take care of business quite easy. I'm not too worried about it. And I think they take care of business against Villa. So we'll see what happens. Look to see if Felix stays in the lineup. Neto, if he's healthy. We know Reece is going to be a while. I just hope they bench him at this point, to be completely honest. But that's what I'm looking for, and I hope Chelsea continue their winning ways. Up at Chelsea.